All right, this is part 2 of keeping the balance of power. Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. The reason I started with that is because everything that's going on now has already been redone several times. Okay, this is basically new. I mean, this is nothing new. And when I'm talking about nothing new, it's about what's going on with the Occupy Wall Street. I am doing this in order, but what is going on now has to do with what I'm about to talk with. Okay, now everyone knows about the Boston Tea Party, and of course the Occupy whatever street you happen to be on in your city. Well, but does anyone truly know the difference of the two? No, most people actually don't know the difference. A lot of people, we've all been told, but this was about freedom and the right to rule. That is partially true, but it's not the entire story. All right, what it is about is corporate bailout. All right, that is entirely what this all this fighting or all this discontent is about. That's what the Tea Party, I should say, was about. The Boston Tea Party, that is. Okay. Now, we've all been taught that, as I stated, this is about freedom of religion. But the truth be told, what really happened was the British Parliament had passed a law in 1773 basically forbidding anyone from buying products that had not gone through London for approval before they got over here, thus setting up a monopoly. The main company involved in this was the East Indian Company. Most of the people who came over here came through by way of the East Indian Company. All right. And plus the people were also tired of how long it was taking taking for information to come from the London or Britain, whichever you want to call it. I don't really care. For them to be able to, they would have, we had our own legislature or parliament at the time, or they had their own parliament at the time, because this has nothing to do with us people, nothing whatsoever to do with us. But the East Indian Company basically was having difficulty as far as, it was taxes, but it was more that there was a lot of competition from other companies selling to British citizens. So the way the British dealt with it was they forbade anyone from buying products that did not have the stamp of approval of the Britain. Pretty much like we have the UPC system now, or the trade system now, where pretty much everything is agreed upon at a certain rate or certain ways, and you basically, not anybody can just all of a sudden jump up and decide I'm going to do trade with another country. It doesn't work that simply. Okay? Alright. But basically what they did was they made the East Indian Company a monopoly. Essentially a monopoly. Because now everyone was required to buy products, not just tea. They sold more than tea. And in order for products to be sold elsewhere from the colonies, it had to have approval. Everything had to basically go through London first. Then it could go on to its final destiny. Except for slaves. That didn't count. Alright? Well, the people were really fighting corporate bailout, because what was happening is East Indian Company basically came to the crown and said, hey, they're not buying our products. We need to be able to sell it for less than what the smugglers are selling it for. Because another thing they were doing is they were getting smugglers, and they would buy from the Dutch company instead of buying from the Dutch colonies, and from the Dutch company instead of buying from the East Indian Company. And so that pretty much brought the price down to something that was reasonable for the people. However, that meant in order for them to be able to, for the East Indian Company to pay the taxes that they wanted to pay, they would have had to somehow make the price that they're selling it for over here lower. And the only way to make it lower is to lower the taxes that the East Indian Company. Now, I'm going to say this. The people were not upset with the taxes they themselves had to pay. Besides, they were upset with the fact that this company was getting a corporate bailout so that you were required to buy products from one person and one person only. We all live in different pockets of monopolies. We just don't realize. A lot of people just don't look at it that way. And basically what's going on in this Occupy crap is, again, corporate bailout. Because this happened, right before 3 years before the Revolutionary War. Alright? And this is probably happened right before everything really breaks down totally. The people out there saying, hey, we are tired of you giving all of these companies bailout. See, most of the people on the street, not the organizers, most of the people on the street think it has to do with only giving tax cuts to the rich. And they're also upset about the corporate bailouts that came for the automotive industry, the banking industry, and all on the promise that it was going to help us, that everybody would benefit. They really weren't caring about whether or not we black folks would benefit, but that they white folks would benefit. Okay? They don't care whether or not we're out there, because it's not our battle. It has nothing whatsoever to do with us. This is all about them fighting themselves. Because if everyone really look at it, the colonists did not care whether or not they were under the British crown. That was not an issue for them. What they didn't like was you have all these troops come over and we are required without our permission to quarter them, which is to house them. They just wanted more representation. They wanted the ability to behave as a subsidiary. Okay? That where they fall or rise as independent subsidiary, not an independent country. Because you got to look at this as a corporation and not look at this as an actual nation of people. Because there's no such thing as a nation of people where all have equal rulership. Only the ones in power will have equal rulership, and everyone else is under that. Okay? Now, not everybody was for the dumping of the tea. They were for keeping everything united, but not in this dramatic of a manner, going bare-chested, dressed as Native Americans that they hated, and as mockery because of the treaties that the Crown was making with the Native Americans that was hindering them. They didn't like to be hindered because a lot of them, were thieves. They were prisoners, thieves, or they were generally the second son of rich merchants or landowners who would not have inherited anything. So they came over here to make money for themselves or to complete their jail sentence. And when they finished their sentence, which they call servitude, then they would wanted to participate. But obviously, you got the most ignorant of the ignorance here. Okay? This is how white folks work. They do not care what happens to everyone as long as they stay united and are allowed to promote their lives as it suits them. A lot of people say, well, Benjamin Franklin was one of the... Well, yeah, but he was one of their founding fathers, but you got to also understand that he did not agree with the methods that they would do stuff, just like now. Even though there are people on two sides of the coin as far as Occupy Wall Street, they are on two sides of the coin. They don't really care who the leader is, as long as they have the right to tell that leader what to do. I hope that makes sense. The Tea Party, Boston Tea Party of the past is the same thing as the Occupy Wall Street is now. Okay? The exact same thing. All I can ask you to do is to go and do your own research, and you'll find that everything that's happened before is happening once again, right before they get ready to have another battle. And the battle will be against each other again. And just like we had no business in the middle of the Revolutionary War, we have no business getting our noses in the middle of this. Let them be. Let them fight it out amongst themselves and mind our own business. Okay? Alright. I mean, I really don't know how much more on this particular part I can really emphasize. I will be back with part 3